Welcome to the August 9th, 2023 API Server Network Proxy Working Group of the SIG Cloud Provider meeting. As always, this is a CNCF meeting and we are beholden to the CNCF rules, which mostly is please be considerate, inclusive of all your fellow members. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joseph.
Yeah, I think under the agenda, I see three topics. And the first is the agent readiness PR from author Imran, who's here. So Imran, actually right before this meeting, I skimmed the latest force push, and it addressed the final outstanding comment that I was waiting on. So I'm ready to re-add the LGTM and approve. And I know I put a hold on it, and it was just out of sort of etiquette to allow, I think, mainly Walter a bit of time to look as well. But I think after like a day or two, we could just remove the hold. Does that sound agreeable, Walter? Okay, I think there's not much more we need to discuss here then, unless you had anything, Imran. And you're muted.
Yeah, nothing on that front. The last remaining bit was addressed earlier this morning for me, and that's it for me, pretty much.
Okay, next topic up is the branching strategy. I know that in the last bi-weekly meeting of this agenda, I had signed up for this AI, but just a day or two ago, I did finally open that issue and linked to it from the meeting notes. It's kind of simple. It's not much. It's just what we discussed last time, which is, hey, let's follow the sort of client Go pattern of the same sort of minor version cadence.
So just to be clear, if folks aren't familiar with the client Go, one of the things that client Go does is rather than start from, I mean, they made the same transition we're discussing here, but rather than just being incremental and starting with one, they actually make their minor version match the Kubernetes minor version, so that it is a lot easier to understand the correspondence between the client, which client Go you're building, and which Kubernetes version that it's sort of intended to work with. So the idea would be, as an example, if we spun a new branch, we would probably branch it as 0.28 from 0.1. And that would then correspond to the Kubernetes 1.28 release version.
Yeah, so I opened that issue. Since it's a big process change, I think we wanted to let a fair amount of time go by for people to give comments and feedback before we go and implement the new either tagging or branching. So if you have any thoughts or opinions, please go leave them on that issue. And I'll wait a good amount of time, like at least a week or two for...
Just to be clear, one of the Kubernetes contributors, Jordan Liggett, has an open work in progress PR to update our GoMod and GoSum and dependencies, primarily for gRPC, but I believe this has to do with a CVE. The top level GoMod, GoSum are not an issue, but the ones under connectivity client are, because they inferentially go into the Kube API server, and we've had issues before where we inferentially upgrade the packages that the Kube API server uses, and in fact the version of Go that it's supposed to be compiled with, and that's not how we want to control that in CNCF in the Kubernetes project. So we try to make sure that our connectivity client is always pinned at the versions of the oldest Kubernetes version that is officially supported, which I think right now would be 125. So if we want to go all the way up to what 128 does, then obviously we would like to make those changes in the branch that corresponds to the Kubernetes 128 release.
As opposed to directly into the main branch.
And in fact, what is the main branch, I think, is a great discussion we should have. But yeah, I mean, so right now the main branch is feeding into older, anything I think over 125 or 126. So essentially what we're saying is that we might actually just make a branch that corresponds. We should make sure that we get all the details straight, and I'm kind of hand waving, and I apologize for that. But the gist is that we'd have one branch for 128, which would have 0.28 branch tags. It might be the main line for now. And then we'd have a slightly older branch, which would correspond to whatever the minimum we support on the current main line up to 127. And then I think the other thing worth discussing, which we've discussed before, is going forward, do we want to just automatically generate a new branch for every Kubernetes version, or do we want to go on a branch as needed scheme?
When I was skimming client Go, it looked like there was some robot automatically generating those release branches.
Yeah, I think Chow and David Ead set that up.
Yeah, that sounds attractive, just to reduce toil and have consistency.
That automation may be very special to Kube staging repos, where they're actually living. The source of truth is actually inside the Kube monorepo.
Interesting. So it might be a bit tricky.
That's my first guess. I'm not saying for sure.
And it may be worth checking on. The staging repos under Kubernetes are strange. Some of them are replicas going out of staging, and some of them are replicas going into staging. That whole thing is a bit of a mess, but yeah.
Shall I ask, I mean, my request would be to have all these questions and discussions somewhere written down. Like, I believe we do have an issue about it, right? If this is captured as comments, perhaps it can later flow into the README or any further documentation, or even it can just sit as an issue which can be later referenced upon by others.
Yeah, that's fair. And I noticed that we haven't been taking notes so far. I can try to backfill the notes that we just discussed, either in this meeting notes document or in that issue. Ben's got a useful link there. Yeah, Walter, I can see your screen.
And is voice working?
It is now.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, we do have the repo branching proposal that Joseph did. I agree. It would be nice to get this all captured in one place. I'm not sure if folks are okay using this issue to do the discussion. Amron?
Sorry.
No worries.
bad.
So hopefully the issue, I think it's issue 510 is being displayed. And I'm just suggesting that this is the one that Joseph opened up, and if everyone's okay with it, why don't I like your suggestion? Like, I think we need to capture it all in both the README and preferably an issue. And I'm suggesting that for now, this issue seems like a good place to capture the discussion, and then we should capture the decision in the README.
So
with a reference
as long
to the
as
discussion.
right. So once we finalize like what strategy do we want to, we can sort of create a PR and capture everything that is finalized in the README. But up until then, all our discussions, questions just keep flowing into this issue.
Yeah, the issue is there to capture all the discussion points in one place, and then hopefully reach a consensus and then commit.
And I do like the idea of then once we've got the commitment, let's make sure we reference the issue so that if anyone wants to understand how we came to that decision, the history is there.
Yeah. Do you have some idea of Liggett's urgency for his PR that could block on this?
So I suggested breaking it into two pieces so that he could get the actual agents, because the thought process I'd had was that if it was a really urgent CVE, the binaries would all be at the right version if we just broke it into two commits. And he said he didn't really think it was that urgent. So I think we have a couple of weeks.
Okay. Next up on the agenda is KubeCon. So let's see. What is your name? It's Joel. Yeah. So how familiar are you with connectivity proxy?
Not hugely, to be honest, which is why I was a bit. Well, so Mike reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, we're doing this talk. It might be cool if you could join in." And I was like, "Okay, what's it about?" He said connectivity proxy, and I was like, "Right, that's something I don't really know much about." And he was like, "You've got a few months, you could learn it." So, I mean, I'm open to the idea, but I think I need to go and learn about it before I say yes or not. But yeah, that's kind of why I came.
So one thing I will suggest, I am happy to help the open source community. I have a bit of experience. I think there have been 2 talks on this subject. So back when I was originally putting the whole concept together to replace SSH tunnels, I did a talk in Shanghai. You're welcome to ping me or whatever. I can get you a link to the Shanghai talk. I haven't actually seen it, but apparently 2 people who don't actually contribute to the project gave an entire speech on this in Detroit, which I find interesting. I keep meaning to go back and actually watch it because I'm fascinated to see how that came out. But the other thing is I am really busy Monday through Thursdays, but I generally have my 20% for Google on Fridays to do open source work. So, if you would like to spend like half an hour asking questions or having me do a brain dump, I could probably book that on a Friday for you.
That would probably be appreciated. Yeah, no, I think Mike reached out because it's looking like our team's going to get budget approval. And I know historically the maintainer track has had some issues staffing the talks because of budgets of people at the moment. We know what the climate's like. So my action item is to go and read the enhancement and try and learn a little bit about it. I'll try and find your talk, Walter, and then if I've still got questions, I'll reach out. This Friday, Red Hat version of 20% time, so I'll probably spend that on Red Hat on Friday.
I dropped a link to the 2 recorded talks that I'm aware of. The older one from Walter and then the one from last year in this meeting notes. Yeah, and then Joel and Walter, if you have such a sort of brain dump meeting on a Friday, feel free to add me. I've already kind of gotten a wealth of information from Walter, but I would enjoy participating just to get some more FaceTime with you, Joel.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I appreciate this is a bit of a weird situation, and I'll just come in randomly and be like, hey, I'm going to join the talk, but yeah, it's see how it goes.
Okay. And then Imran, just seeing the agenda, there's one last item from Imran. Oh, adding you as a community member, I think.
Yes. So I have opened a PR on the Kubernetes for the membership. And I think first time I added both of you, you and Walt. And I think you mentioned that both people can be from the same company. So I've added from someone from my company, from Microsoft, and he has replied back, he's happy to sponsor. I'm not sure what are the next steps, who approves the PR, and yeah.
It's a great question. It's actually a community question rather than as far as I know, ILGTMs and +1 that, and I'm guessing the Microsoft person did as well. So at this point, it's on the owners, which, I'm an owner for this project, but I'm not an owner for the community project. So it's on the owners of the community project. You could, there are folks I can reach out to if it seems like this is going nowhere and see what the sticking point is. Ping me offline if this seems to be stuck, and I'll follow up with one of the community owners that I know.
Yep. Thanks.
Did anyone have anything else? Ben? I'm not sure. I remember seeing you here before. Were you here with any questions or any concerns?
No, I'm just here basically as a observer from API Machinery at David's request.
Ah, cool. Okay. Yeah. Always good to have API Machinery here. We are the interesting intersection of API Machinery and cloud provider. So.
If you do have a brain dump session at some point, I would love to be invited to that as well.
Okay, yeah, I can certainly do that. So you're Red Hat. If you're saying David, I'm guessing you're Red Hat.
Yes, yes.
So I realize not everyone at Red Hat knows each other, but Joel, could I leave it on you when we set this up to invite Ben?
Yeah, can do.
Awesome.
Thanks.
All right. Did we have anything else? If not, we're bang on time. So awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, folks. Bye.
Thanks.